Hey everyone, we all know what the highest place on Earth is, but what about the lowest places in the world? Join me, I'm gonna count down the top 15 lowest places in the world. Starting with number 15, the Badwater Basin, the lowest point in North America. Badwater Basin, located in Death Valley, California in the United States, is the lowest point in North America, sinking 86 meters or 282 feet below sea level. It's also one of the hottest places on Earth, holding the record for the highest air temperature ever recorded at 56.7 degrees Celsius. That's 134 degrees Fahrenheit in 1913. This sunken flat is a landscape of extremes where the relentless heat, the dry air, the lack of vegetation all make survival nearly impossible here. From space, Badwater Basin appears pretty big. A white salt pan stretching across the heart of Death Valley, it's a striking contrast to the surrounding dark mountains, particularly the towering Pinamid Range. Now, Badwater Basin was formed through a combination of tectonic activity, erosion, and climate extremes. Millions of years ago, this area was covered by ancient lakes that slowly evaporated as the climate became drier, which left behind thick deposits of salt and minerals. Today, the basin is mostly dry, but during rare periods of rainfall, a shallow lake can temporarily form, and it reflects the sky in a mesmerizing mirror effect. Despite the extreme conditions, though, Death Valley's home to a surprising array of life. Small pockets of water contain hardy microorganisms that can survive in this highly saline environment. In the cooler months, too, wildflowers can bloom across the desert, bringing bursts of color to an otherwise lifeless landscape. Bighorn sheep, coyotes, and roadrunners also inhabit the surrounding mountains. The incredible heat here and low elevation have made it a legendary destination for endurance athletes and adventurers. The Badwater Ultra Marathon is one of the most grueling races in the world, and it starts in Death Valley and then covers 135 miles or 217 kilometers through some of the most extreme terrain on Earth, ending at Mount Whitney Portal. From a satellite perspective, Badwater Basin is a stunning feature, a brilliant white patch of salt contrasting against the deep brown and red hues of the surrounding desert. But despite the inhospitable nature, it remains a popular tourist attraction, drawing visitors who want to experience the lowest, hottest, and one of the most surreal places in the US, whether viewed from space or explored on foot. It's a landscape that tells the story of millions of years of geological change, a land of extremes where life continues to adapt against all odds. Number 14. The Qattara Depression, Egypt's sunken desert. The Qattara Depression in Egypt is one of the lowest depressions in Africa and one of the most unforgiving landscapes on the planet. It's located in the northwestern part of the country. This vast basin plunges to 133 meters or 436 feet below sea level, and it covers an area of about 19,000 square kilometers, that's 7,500 square miles. Unlike many other depressions that contain lakes or wetlands, the Qattara Depression is almost entirely arid, a place where intense heat and wind erosion have sculpted a desolate, otherworldly terrain. From space, the depression appears as a vast, irregularly shaped sink in the desert, a massive scar in the otherwise flat landscape here. Jagged salt flats and rocky outcrops that have been carved by relentless wind erosion over thousands of years, with the extreme aridity of this region, make it one of the least hospitable places, with virtually no permanent human settlements. One fascinating aspect here is its role in military history. During World War II, the Depression played a critical role in shaping the North African campaign. Its impassable terrain acted as a natural barrier, preventing German and Italian forces from flanking British troops positioned near El Alamein. This advantage helped turn the tide of the war in favor of the Allied forces, making the Qattara Depression an unexpected strategic asset. But in more recent times, the depression has been proposed as a potential site for a large-scale renewable energy project. Some scientists have suggested building a hydroelectric dam that would channel water from the Mediterranean Sea into the depression, using the significant drop in elevation to generate electricity. The depression is also home to some of the most extreme temperatures. In summer, daytime highs regularly exceed 50 degrees Celsius, that's 122 degrees Fahrenheit, while at night temperatures can drop dramatically, creating one of the most challenging climates. While despite its desolation, it is home to a surprising variety of wildlife. Adapted to the harsh desert conditions, animals like fennec foxes, jerboas, and desert hedgehogs can be found in scattered areas of the depression. along with migratory birds that pass through this region during seasonal changes. These animals have evolved to survive in an environment where water is scarce and temperatures fluctuate drastically. The interplay of light and shadow across its rugged surface creates a surreal, almost alien appearance, reinforcing its reputation as one of the most extreme landscapes on the planet. Despite its challenges, though, it remains a place of intrigue, both for scientists studying its history and those looking to harness its unique geography for future energy products. It's a reminder of the Earth's vast landscapes, a sunken desert that stands as one of the lowest and most formidable places on the planet. Number 13. The Danakil Depression, Ethiopia's inferno below sea level. The Danakil Depression in Ethiopia is one of the lowest, hottest, and most geologically active places on Earth. Situated in the Afar Triangle, this otherworldly landscape plunges to 125 meters or 410 feet below sea level, and it's often referred to as the gateway to hell due to its extreme temperatures. This region is one of the most inhospitable, with scorching temperatures that regularly exceed 50 degrees Celsius, and an unforgiving, toxic landscape that seems more suited to another planet than Earth. The depression itself is part of the East African Rift. Now, this is where three tectonic plates are slowly pulling apart, and that creates a highly active volcanic and seismic zone. This movement gives rise to some of the most unique formations on Earth, including the Dalal hydrothermal fields, where boiling hot springs and geysers eject highly acidic water onto the surface, creating a landscape unlike anywhere else. Now, one cool feature here in this depression is the Erta Ale. It's an active shield volcano that houses one of the few permanent lava lakes on the planet. Its molten lava churns violently here, creating an eerie red glow that can be seen for miles at night. The presence of this lava lake adds to the region's already apocalyptic appearance. But despite the harsh conditions, it's been home to the Afar nomads for centuries. These resilient people have adapted to the brutal climate, making a living by extracting and trading salt from the vast salt flats that cover much of the depression. The salt blocks, often referred to as the white gold of Ethiopia, are still transported by camel caravans across the desert, following ancient trade routes that have been in use for thousands of years. From a satellite perspective, the depression is one of the most visually striking places. Its mineral-rich surface creates a kaleidoscope of colors, with vast salt flats, deep volcanic craters, and twisting lava flows forming a chaotic, ever-changing landscape. It's a place where the forces of nature are on full display, an inferno below sea level that pushes the limits of what's survivable. But despite its beauty, the depression remains one of the most extreme places, a landscape forged by fire, salt, and tectonic activity. It's a place that very few dare to visit, yet those who do are rewarded with a glimpse into the raw, untamed power of the Earth itself. Number 12. The Caspian Sea Depression, the lowest land in Europe and Central Asia. The Caspian Sea Depression is one of the largest lowland areas in the world, covering parts of Russia, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, and Iran. At its lowest point, the depression reaches 28 meters or 92 feet below sea level, making it the lowest point in Europe and Central Asia. From space, the Caspian Sea Depression appears like an expansive greenish-brown plain stretching for hundreds of kilometers, dotted with rivers, lakes, and wetlands. This depression was formed by ancient processes including tectonic subsidence and the retreat of prehistoric seas that once covered the area millions of years ago. The Caspian Sea itself is a saltwater lake that lies entirely below sea level, meaning that its coastline forms one of the most unusual lowland ecosystems on Earth. Surrounding the depression is home to vast wetlands, grasslands, and river deltas, which support an abundance of wildlife. The Volga River Delta, located within the depression, is one of the most important areas in the world, and it serves as a crucial stopover point for migratory birds traveling between Europe, Asia, and Africa. Unlike oceans, which are regulated by global tides, the Caspian Sea has no natural outlet, meaning its water levels are heavily influenced by climate change, river inflow, and evaporation. Over the past century, the sea has experienced some dramatic rises and falls in water levels, sometimes causing entire coastal cities and villages to be submerged or abandoned. Now, these changes have made the region a focus for environmental studies, and scientists seek to understand how global warming and regional climate shifts impact large enclosed bodies of water. The Caspian region has been a major center for oil production since the late 19th century, with some of the world's largest offshore oil fields located beneath this sea. The discovery of massive reserves of oil and natural gas here has turned the region into an economic hub, with pipelines stretching across multiple countries to transport fossil fuels. However, this rapid development has also led to environmental concerns, with pollution from oil spills, industrial waste, and overfishing threatening the delicate ecosystem of the Caspian Sea. From a satellite perspective, the depression is one of the most striking features of the Eurasian continent. This vast enclosed body of the Caspian Sea, surrounded by flat, sprawling lowlands, creates a unique visual contrast against the mountains of the Caucasus to the west and the Central Asian deserts to the east. But despite its relatively mild climate compared to other lowland regions, this depression faces challenges in the coming decades. Climate change, water mismanagement, and industrial expansion continue to threaten the region's fragile ecosystem. This fluctuating sea level and ongoing geopolitical struggles over resource control add another layer of complexity to this already unique region. Whether viewed from the ground or from space, it is a landscape that highlights both the beauty and the challenges of low-level environments, a place where nature and human activity are constantly shaping its future. Number 11. The Turpan Depression, China's scorching furnace below sea level. The Turpan Depression, located in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region of China, is one of the lowest, hottest, and driest places on Earth. With a depth of 154 meters or 500 feet below sea level, it holds the record for the lowest point in China and the second lowest exposed land area in the world outside of Antarctica. From space, the depression appears as an enormous rust-colored expanse stretching across China's northwest. It is a region of extremes, where searing summer temperatures frequently exceed 50 degrees Celsius, making it one of the hottest places on the planet. But despite the harsh conditions, the Turpan Depression has been inhabited for thousands of years thanks to an ancient and ingenious water system known as the Karagiye wells. These underground tunnels, stretching for hundreds of kilometers, channel melted snow from the distant mountains into the basin, providing life-giving water to the region's settlements and farmlands. This city has allowed the city of Turpan, the main population center in the region, to flourish despite its extreme desert surroundings. Now, one fascinating feature is the Flaming Mountains. This is a striking ridge of red sandstone that runs along the northern edge. These mountains appear to glow like fire under the intense midday sun, their surfaces reaching scorching temperatures that could cook an egg within minutes. These mountains are steeped in Chinese mythology and are famously mentioned in the ancient tale Journey to the West, one of China's most celebrated literary works. The region is also home to the Grape Valley, an unexpected oasis in the heart of this desert, where vineyards thrive under the heat. It's long been famous for producing some of China's best raisins and dried fruits, thanks to the unique climate that allows for perfect natural drying conditions. But the Turpan Depression remains an extreme environment, prone to fierce dust storms and some of the lowest recorded rainfall levels in the world. The landscape is constantly shifting, with sand dunes encroaching on a once thriving settlement and the relentless heat taking a toll on both the land and its peoples. From a satellite perspective, it is a stunning example of Earth's diverse landscapes, a deep scar in the Chinese desert, surrounded by rugged mountains and vast empty plains. It's a place where ancient ingenuity meets the brutal forces of nature, a sunken land that continues to defy the odds of survival. Number 10. The Jordan Rift Valley, the deepest land rift on Earth. The Jordan Rift Valley is one of the most significant features on the planet. It stretches from Syria in the north to the Red Sea in the south. It forms part of the Great Rift Valley, a massive fault system that runs through East Africa and the Middle East, and it was created by the separation of tectonic plates over millions of years. At its lowest point, the valley plunges to 430 meters or 1,400 feet below sea level, making it the lowest land depression on the planet. From space, it appears as a dramatic elongated trench cutting through the arid landscapes of the Middle East. This is a region of stark contrasts, where lush oases, fertile farmlands, they all exist alongside barren deserts and salt flats. The valley is home to the Dead Sea, the lowest body of water on the planet, which continues to sink even lower each year. But as the African and Arabian tectonic plates continue to drift apart, the valley is slowly widening, causing occasional earthquakes and shifts in the surrounding landscape. The Dead Sea in the Rift Valley is a hypersaline body of water that's nearly 10 times saltier than the ocean. This extreme salinity makes it impossible for most forms of life to survive, earning it the name Dead Sea. The lake is famous for its buoyant waters, which allow people to float effortlessly on the surface, as well as for its mineral-rich mud, which has been used for therapeutic purposes for thousands of years. Ancient cities such as Jericho, that's one of the oldest continually inhabited cities in the world, are located within this valley, showing the deep historical significance of this region. The valley also holds religious importance, with sites like the Jordan River, where according to tradition, Jesus was baptized. But despite the history and geology, the Jordan Rift Valley faces growing environmental challenges. The Dead Sea is shrinking at an alarming rate due to excessive water diversion from the river and nearby aquifers. Sinkholes have begun forming along the shores, swallowing roads, buildings, and entire sections of land. Efforts to combat this decline, including proposed projects to bring water from the Red Sea to the Dead Sea, remain controversial and uncertain. The Jordan Rift Valley is a place of history, culture, and environmental transportation. Whether viewed from space or explored on the ground, it remains one of the most fascinating and extreme lowland regions on the planet, a land that has shaped civilizations and continues to evolve with the shifting forces of nature. Number 9. The Sebkhet Tah, Mauritania's hidden salt basin. The Sebkhet Tah, located in the remote deserts of Mauritania, is one of the lowest points in Africa, sinking to 55 meters or 180 feet below sea level. This salt basin, also known as a subka, is an arid depression where water evaporates faster than it accumulates, leaving behind thick layers of salt and mineral deposits. This is a barren and uninhabitable landscape shaped by the relentless heat, wind, and the slow process that have carved away this sunken land over millions of years. From space, it appears as a pale, ghostly patch against the golden sands of the Sahara Desert. It's part of a network of dried-out basins that are scattered across the region, remnants of ancient lakes that once covered North Africa during wetter climatic periods. The extreme environment here makes it nearly uninhabitable, with daytime temperatures soaring above 50 degrees Celsius or 122 degrees Fahrenheit and almost no rainfall throughout the year. Life in this region is pretty scarce. The only signs of it are occasional salt-tolerant plants and migratory birds that pass through the area. However, despite its desolation, the basin has been a valuable resource for local communities who have harvested salt from the deposits for centuries. The nomadic Moors and desert traders of the past would extract salt slabs from the subkas and transport them across the Sahara by camel caravan, trading it for food, gold, and other essentials. This area, with its flat, cracked surface, reflects the sunlight in unusual ways, making it appear almost like a dried-up riverbed or a pale scar in the vastness of the desert. Now, while it may not be as well known as some of the world's other lower elevation regions, this one stands as an example of Sahara's past, when massive lakes and rivers once flowed through what is now an endless sea of sand. It's a place that tells a story of an evolving planet, a sunken land that bears witness to the shifting climates and landscapes of Earth's deep history. Number 8. The Karagiye Depression, Kazakhstan's deepest land basin. The Karagiye Depression, located in southwestern Kazakhstan, is one of the lowest points in Central Asia, plunging to 132 meters or 430 feet below sea level. This vast, bowl-shaped depression is a striking feature on the peninsula here, a region known for its dramatic formations, fossil-rich limestone hills, and extreme climate. Unlike river valleys or fertile plains, this depression is a barren landscape. It's dominated by dry salt flats, eroded cliffs, and expanses of cracked earth. From space, the depression appears as an enormous dark indentation in the otherwise featureless steppe. The basin stretches for nearly 40 kilometers or 25 miles, forming a massive sunken crater that looks almost unnatural from above. Geologists believe that the depression was formed through a combination of tectonic subsidence and underground salt dissolution, where layers of ancient rock collapsed over time. The depression is one of the most remote places in Kazakhstan with few signs of human habitation. The surrounding regions are pretty harsh and unpredictable, with summer temperatures reaching 45 degrees Celsius or 113 degrees Fahrenheit, and winter bringing freezing winds and heavy snow. Despite the isolation though, the depression is home to a surprising variety of animals, including rare steppe foxes, wild gazelles, and golden eagles that have all adapted to the extreme conditions. Though the depression is pretty dry itself, it sits within the greater Caspian Basin. That's an area that was once covered by prehistoric seas millions of years ago, so fossil marine life, including ancient corals and shells, can still be found scattered throughout the region. The depression is also a site of local folklore and legend. Some Kazakh communities believe that the depression was formed by a fallen meteorite or a supernatural force, and has long been regarded as a mysterious place filled with eerie silence. Some travelers who visit the region describe a sense of vast emptiness, with sheer scale of the depression making them feel as if they're standing at the bottom of a giant natural amphitheater. From above, it's one of the most dramatic depressions on Earth. The proximity to the Caspian Sea highlights the ancient history of the region, as it's a place that was once submerged and is now one of the lowest and driest points on the Eurasian continent. Despite their remoteness, Karagiye continues to attract geologists, adventurers, and photographers who seek to explore its beauty and extreme landscapes. It's a place where time seems to stand still, a deep scar on the earth that tells the story of shifting continents, evaporated seas, and the relentless power of geological change. Moving on to number 7, the Assal Lake Depression, the lowest point in Africa. Lake Assal, located in Djibouti, holds the title of the lowest point in Africa, plunging to 155 meters or 509 feet below sea level. This remote and extreme location is one of the most saline bodies of water in the world, with salt concentrations exceeding 10 times that of the ocean. The lake sits within the Afar Triangle, a geologically active region where tectonic plates are slowly pulling apart, creating rift valleys and depressions that continue to sink over time. From above, Lake Assal appears as a dazzling patch of white and turquoise, in contrast against the dark volcanic and barren desert that surrounds it. The lake is fed by underground springs and occasional runoff from the nearby Gubei Gulf, but it has no outlet, meaning that the water here accumulates and evaporates under the relentless heat of the Djiboutian sun. The environment around the lake is one of the harshest on the planet. Temps here are regularly exceeding 50 degrees Celsius or 122 Fahrenheit in the summer, and rainfall is almost non-existent. Despite the extreme conditions, the lake has been an important economic resource for centuries. Nomadic Afar tribes have long harvested the salt from its shores, carving large slabs that were historically traded across the region in one of Africa's oldest commercial routes. The geological activity around here has created an otherworldly landscape of jagged lava fields, hot springs, and bubbling geothermal vents, making the region one of the most tectonically dynamic places on Earth. Some scientists believe that as the rift continues to widen, the Afar Depression would one day become a new ocean, splitting the Horn of Africa from the rest of the continent. The lake's hypersalinity allows visitors to float effortlessly on its surface, similar to the Dead Sea, and the combination of bright salt formations, deep blue water, and volcanic rock create one of the most dramatic and visually stunning locations in Africa. From a satellite perspective, Lake Assal is an unmistakable feature in the African landscape, a sunken basin of shimmering salt that seems almost alien in its appearance. Number 6. The Tarim Basin, China's isolated desert depression. The Tarim Basin, located in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region of China, is one of the lowest and most inhospitable places on Earth. With elevations dropping as low as 154 meters or 505 feet below sea level, this desert depression is a land of extremes. Covering an area over 900,000 square kilometers or 347,000 square miles, it's one of the largest basins in the world that has no rivers or streams escaping to the ocean. Instead, water that flows into the basin either evaporates or it's absorbed into the ground, leaving behind vast salt flats and an arid wasteland. From space, the Tarim Basin appears as an enormous barren expanse, stretching for thousands of kilometers with barely any signs of life. The region is dominated by a desert climate, the second largest shifting sand desert in the world, where sand dunes can reach heights of over 300 meters or 980 feet, where temperatures can soar above 50 degrees Celsius in the summer and plummet to negative 20 degrees Celsius in the winter. The extreme climate and lack of water make this basin almost completely uninhabitable, with only a few scattered oases supporting human life. In modern times, the Tarim Basin has gained economic importance due to its vast oil and gas reserves. The Tarim oil field, one of China's largest, has attracted significant investment. However, extracting resources in an extreme environment presents some major challenges, as drilling equipment have to withstand blistering heat and freezing cold. When viewed from above, the basin's scale is pretty amazing. The vast emptiness of the desert, it's punctuated only by occasional patches of green where water still manages to reach the surface. It gives it a striking contrast against the surrounding mountains. This isolated, sun-scorched basin remains one of the most extreme lowland regions on Earth, a place where nature's raw power is on full display. Number 5. The Laguna del Carbon, the lowest point in the southern hemisphere. Laguna del Carbon, located in Argentina's Santa Cruz province, holds the record as the lowest point in the southern hemisphere, sinking to 105 meters or 344 feet below sea level. This remote salt lake is a vast depression in Patagonia, one of the most isolated and windswept regions on the planet. It's known for its extreme aridity, barren landscapes, and a climate that can swing from freezing cold to blistering heat in a single day. The depression itself was formed over millions of years through tectonic activity and wind erosion, creating a sunken land where water collects only temporarily before evaporating. Despite its name, the laguna is usually a dry salt flat, though in rare cases of heavy rainfall, shallow pools of highly saline water can appear for a short time before disappearing. The climate is arid and unpredictable here, with powerful winds howling across the steppe, creating an eerie, lifeless atmosphere. In winters, temps can drop below -10 Celsius, while summer highs can reach 40 degrees Celsius, making the basin a place of brutal temperature extremes. From a satellite perspective, it is a striking feature in the otherwise featureless Patagonian landscape. The contrast between the brilliant white salt flats and the reddish-brown steppe gives the region an alien-like appearance, making it one of the most unique depressions on the planet. Although few people visit this location, it remains a wonder, a record-setting depression that marks the lowest point on an entire continent. It's a place where time seems frozen, an unchanging reminder of the powerful process that's shaped South America over millions of years. Number 4. The Turpan Depression, China's inferno below sea level. The Turpan Depression, known as the Turpan Pendi, is the second lowest land depression in the world outside of Antarctica, plunging to 154 meters or 505 feet below sea level. From space, the depression appears as a deep reddish-brown scar in China's western deserts, and it's flanked by the towering Tian Shan Mountains to the north. Unlike most depressions that are shaped by the tectonic sinking, this region was carved out by millions of years of wind erosion, slowly lowering the land and leaving behind a landscape of sand dunes, dry riverbeds, and salt flats. The climate here is one of the harshest in the world, with summer temps regularly exceeding 50 degrees Celsius or 122 degrees Fahrenheit, making it one of the hottest places on the planet. The dryness of the air, combined with the desert winds, means that water evaporates here almost instantly, leaving behind a wasteland where survival is nearly impossible without access to underground water. But despite the extreme conditions, this area has been a center of human civilization for thousands of years. The region's long been a major stop along the Silk Road. That's an ancient trade route that connected China to the Middle East and Europe. The Uyghur people, who have lived there for centuries, have developed advanced irrigation systems, a network of underground tunnels that transport melted snow from the distant mountains into the desert, allowing crops and vineyards to flourish here. The Flaming Mountains, located within the depression, are one of its most famous landmarks. They've been immortalized in Journey to the West, one of China's most famous literary works, where they're described as mythical and impassable barrier of flames. In reality, they're a geological wonder that was shaped by millions of years of wind and water erosion. From a satellite perspective, the Turpan Depression is one of the most striking features in Asia. The contrast between the deep sunken basin and the surrounding high mountains creates an impressive visual signature. The long shadows cast by the Flaming Mountains add to that dramatic appearance, making it one of the most unique landscapes on Earth. Today, though, with ancient ruins, desert oases, and vibrant Uyghur communities continuing to thrive despite harsh conditions, the region is known for producing some of China's best grapes and raisins, thanks to the unique combination of high heat and dry air. It's a land where people have adapted to some of the harshest conditions imaginable, whether viewed from space or explored on the ground. It remains a stunning, sunken world of extremes, one of the lowest, hottest, and most fascinating places on the planet. Number 3. The Dead Sea, the lowest point on Earth's surface. The Dead Sea, located between Jordan, Israel, and Palestine, holds the title of the lowest exposed land on Earth, plunging 430 meters or 1,400 feet below sea level. This hypersaline body of water is not only the deepest land depression, but it's also one of the most unique and extreme environments on Earth. From space, the Dead Sea appears as a deep blue, landlocked body of water surrounded by desert and dramatic cliffs. Its coastline has been continuously receding due to evaporation and water diversion, creating massive sinkholes and reshaping the surrounding landscape. Scientists estimate that the Dead Sea is sinking by about 1 meter or 3 feet per year, making it an evolving and fragile environment. The Dead Sea is 10 times saltier than the ocean, making it impossible for most life to survive. This salinity, though, allows people to float effortlessly on the surface, a phenomenon that's attracted tourists for centuries. The water is rich in magnesium, potassium, and bromine, making it one of the most mineral-packed lakes in the world. These minerals have been used for medicinal and cosmetic treatments for thousands of years, with many believing that the waters have healing properties. The Dead Sea is also said to be one of the oldest lakes on Earth, estimated to be at least 3 million years old. It's been the site of human settlement for thousands of years, with ancient civilizations like the Nabateans, Romans, and Byzantines leaving behind ruins along the shores. The nearby Qumran caves, where the famous Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, hold some of the oldest known religious texts, which add to the region's history and spiritual significance. Efforts to save the Dead Sea have included proposals such as the Red Sea-Dead Sea Water Conveyance Project, which aims to pump seawater from the Red Sea to slow evaporation. However, environmentalists remain divided on whether that solution will work or if it will cause further ecological disruption. From a satellite perspective, the Dead Sea is an unmistakable landmark. The brilliant blue water contrasts sharply with the surrounding desert, while the receding shoreline and sinkhole formations highlight the impact of human activity. It's a place that's both ancient and rapidly changing, a reminder of how fragile Earth's lowest places can be. But despite the challenges, the Dead Sea remains one of the world's most extraordinary natural wonders, a site of immense geological, cultural, and historical significance. Whether viewed from space or experienced in person, it continues to captivate scientists, historians, and travelers alike, offering them a glimpse into one of Earth's most extreme landscapes. Number 2. The Bentley Subglacial Trench, the lowest land on Earth not covered by water. The Bentley Subglacial Trench, located in Antarctica, is one of the lowest land depressions on the planet that's not covered by ocean water. This hidden valley lies an astonishing 2,500 meters or 8,300 feet below sea level. But unlike other depressions, it's buried beneath nearly 3 kilometers or 2 miles of ice. This makes it one of the most mysterious and least explored places on the planet, a hidden world that remains locked away under Antarctica's vast ice sheets. From space, the subglacial trench is completely invisible, as it lies beneath the thick ice cover of the West Antarctic ice sheet. Scientists discovered the trench using seismic radar and ice-penetrating technology, revealing a landscape that's deeper than the Grand Canyon and stretching for hundreds of kilometers. It's part of a vast network of subglacial valleys and lakes that exists beneath Antarctica's frozen surface, hidden from view and largely unexplored. There's no exposed land here, no lakes, no sunlight reaching the depths, and instead the trench is believed to contain ancient ice and possibly even subglacial water, trapped for millions of years beneath the crushing weight of the ice sheet. One of the biggest scientific questions about the trench is whether it contains hidden subglacial lakes. Similar depressions in Antarctica, such as Lake Vostok, have been found to contain liquid water beneath the surface, kept from freezing by the immense pressures and geothermal heat from the Earth's interior. If similar conditions exist in the Bentley Trench, scientists speculate that it could host undiscovered ecosystems, possibly containing ancient microbial life that's been cut off from the rest of the world for millions of years. Well, despite its hidden nature, the subglacial trench is one of the most significant geological features on Earth. Its depth, isolation, and role in shaping Antarctica's ice sheet make it a key location for future scientific exploration. From a satellite perspective, well, there's no visible indication of the trench's presence. It lies entirely beneath the ice, hidden from direct view. But as technology advances, scientists do hope that one day to drill into the trench and explore what lies beneath the sheet, and whether it contains liquid water, unknown life forms, or evidence of ancient climate shifts, the Bentley Subglacial Trench remains one of the most unexplored places on Earth. Number 1. The Challenger Deep, the deepest point on Earth. The Challenger Deep, located within the Mariana Trench in the western Pacific, is the deepest known point on the planet, plunging to an almost unimaginable depth of 10,994 meters, or 36,070 feet below sea level. This vast underwater abyss is deep enough to swallow Mount Everest with over 2 kilometers to spare. Few places on Earth remain as unexplored as the Challenger Deep, a world so remote and hostile that only a handful of human beings have ever visited it. From space, the trench appears as a dark scar in the Pacific Ocean, stretching for over 2,500 kilometers and over 69 kilometers wide. It's the deepest trench on Earth, and it was formed by the slow and violent movement of tectonic plates. This creates an almost bottomless chasm in the ocean floor. This is a region of crushing pressure, eternal darkness, and some of the strangest life forms ever. As a submersible descends into the abyss, the sunlight disappears within the first 200 meters, plunging the ocean into total darkness. The temperature drops rapidly, reaching just above freezing, and the water pressure here becomes overwhelming. By the time the submersible reaches the bottom, the pressure is over 1,100 times greater than at sea level, equivalent to having the weight of 100 jumbo jets pressing down on every square meter of the submersible's hull. Only a handful of human missions have ever ventured down there, starting with the historic dive of Jacques Piccard and Don Walsh in 1960 aboard the Trieste. Their journey took 5 hours to reach the seafloor, where they spent just 20 minutes before ascending. For over 50 years, no other humans returned until James Cameron, the famous filmmaker and explorer, made a solo descent in 2012, piloting the Deep-Sea Challenger to a depth of 10,908 meters, capturing the first-ever high-resolution images of the seafloor. More recent explorations, like those led by Victor Vescovo in 2019, have used advanced deep-sea submersibles like the DSV Limiting Factor, allowing for multiple descents into the deep and a greater scientific discovery than before. Despite the few manned expeditions, much of the Challenger Deep remains unexplored. Unlike space, where satellites and telescopes allow us to study distant planets, the deep ocean remains forever a frontier that largely is hidden from view. Scientists estimate that we've mapped less than 5% of the deep ocean floor, meaning that the Challenger Deep and other trenches may still hold undiscovered species, ecosystems, and even unknown geological features. In addition to scientific exploration, though, there's a growing concern about the impact of human activity on the deep and other deep-sea ecosystems. In recent years, researchers have found plastic waste, microplastics, and even traces of industrial pollutants at the bottom of the trench. This raises questions about how human activity is affecting deep-sea life and what steps need to be taken to protect these ecosystems. But from a satellite perspective, the Mariana Trench is among the most striking features of the ocean. The trench appears as a long, dark gash cutting through the otherwise uniform Pacific seabed. It's a reminder of the titanic forces that shape our planet. High-resolution mapping technologies like multi-beam sonar and satellite altimetry have allowed scientists to create detailed three-dimensional maps of the trench, revealing its steep walls, deep ridges, and even smaller sub-trenches within the depths. For scientists, the Challenger Deep represents an opportunity to study life in one of the harshest environments on Earth, offering clues to how organisms can survive in these extreme conditions. And for all of humanity, it is a reminder that even in an age of satellites, space exploration, and global connectivity, there are still parts of our own world that remain mysterious and unexplored. Whether viewed from the surface or from space, or from the cockpit of a deep-sea submersible, it remains the most awe-inspiring and humbling place on Earth. Thanks for watching, everybody. Click to watch the next video on 15 surprise sinkholes. And thank you to our channel members.